So, you've spent months, maybe even years, at the lab bench pouring everything you have into your research. The data? It's groundbreaking. But now, you're facing that next huge hurdle. How do you turn all that hard work into a published paper that the world can actually see? All right, let's get into it and figure out how to master that process together.
This is the question that keeps so many researchers up at night. You submit what you know is brilliant work, only to get that quick, sharp rejection from a journal editor. Sometimes it doesn't even make it to peer review. So what is going on here? And here it is. This is the secret that a lot of people miss. More often than you'd think, the quality of your science isn't the problem at all. The real gatekeeper, the very first wall your manuscript hits, is its structure. A paper that's poorly put together can completely bury amazing results, making it impossible for anyone to see the value in what you've done. So, in this explainer, we're going to build your roadmap for a manuscript that gets noticed. We'll talk about the publishing gatekeepers, we'll lay out your manuscript blueprint, we'll get into crafting the why behind your work, building your case, adding that final polish, and really guide you all the way from the lab bench to that final published paper. Okay, so every great building needs a blueprint, right? Well, in scientific writing, our blueprint is called IMRAD. And just to be clear, this isn't some friendly suggestion, it's the universal format that journals don't just prefer, they expect. Getting this right is your first real step past those gatekeepers.
Let's break down what IMRAD actually stands for. It's Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. You can think of it as telling a story that answers 4 really simple questions in this exact order. Why did you even start this research? What exactly did you do? What did you find out? And the big one, what does it all mean?
All right, let's dive into that first section, the introduction. I want you to completely erase the idea that this is just some boring summary. It's not. The introduction is your one big chance to make a powerful, compelling argument for why your research is so important.
Now this right here, this is such a brilliant way to look at it. Your introduction is a sales pitch. Seriously, you're not just laying out the facts. You are actively convincing the editor, the reviewers, and all your future readers that the problem you're tackling is urgent and that your solution is something new and important.
So how do you actually build this pitch? Here you go, a simple but incredibly powerful 4-paragraph formula. Think of it like a funnel. You start super broad with paragraph 1. What's the big global challenge? That's your hook. Then paragraph 2 narrows it down. You talk about what we're doing now and, this is key, why it's not good enough. Paragraph 3 is your big moment. You introduce your new approach and show exactly how it fills that gap you just pointed out. And finally, paragraph 4 ties it up neatly by stating your goals. See how that works? It's a logical path from a huge problem right down to your brilliant solution.
Okay, great. You've hooked them with a compelling why. Now you've got to deliver the proof. The methods and results sections, this is the absolute heart of your paper. This is where you build your case, piece by piece, with total clarity and rigor.
The whole point of the methods section can be boiled down to one single absolute word: reproducibility. Another scientist sitting in a lab on the other side of the planet has to be able to read your methods and copy your experiment perfectly. And that means you have to detail everything: the purity, the producer of your materials, your step-by-step process, the specific models and settings of your equipment. Leave zero room for guesswork.
And check this out. This is a total pro tip for making your work clearer. Please don't use vague names like sample A or sample B. Create a smart, logical coding system that embeds key info right into the name. Look at this table. A reviewer sees HEA 415 and they instantly know it was processed at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. It just shows you're organized, and believe me, it makes their job a whole lot easier.
Now, let's be absolutely crystal clear about this next part. For the people who are deciding the fate of your paper, the results and discussion section is, well, it's everything. This is where your science is really put to the test.
The best thing you can do here is to think like a reviewer. This is basically their mental checklist. First, are your numbers and units accurate? Simple, but critical. Second, how do your findings stack up against what's already out there? Are they better? Why? Third, and this is so important, you have to explain the science behind the numbers. Don't just tell me what you found, tell me why you found it. And finally, do all your different results hang together and tell one coherent story.
So you've built your case, the science is solid, we are so close. But please don't stumble at the finish line because of small, avoidable mistakes. This final polish is all about presenting your amazing work with the professionalism it truly deserves. It might seem like a tiny thing, but paying attention to the journal's required formatting, the right font, justified text, line spacing, it sends a really powerful message. It tells the editor that you are a careful, detail-oriented researcher who respects their process. A sloppy manuscript, fairly or not, suggests sloppy science.
References. This is another one of those spots where tiny errors can create a really bad first impression. So, use software like Mendeley or EndNote to help you out. Make absolutely sure you're following the journal's specific format, whether it's IEE or APA or something else. Try to aim for at least 35 references to show you've really done your homework, and always double-check that your numbering is in the right order.
And one last thing. Submitting a paper isn't just uploading a single Word doc. As you can see from this checklist, a complete submission package is a whole collection of things. A cover letter, a title page, separate files for your figures and tables, and often, you'll even suggest reviewers. Having all this ready to go just makes the whole process smoother and more professional.
So, there we have it. We've gone all the way from the core idea to the final submission package. I want you to think of this whole process not as a chore, but as the final, amazing stage of your research quest, actually sharing what you found with the world.
Because ultimately, that's what this is really all about, isn't it? Your research, that's the treasure. But without a clear, easy-to-follow map, no one's ever going to find it. A well-structured manuscript, one that follows these principles we've talked about, is that map. It makes your work easy to find, easy to understand, and truly impactful.
You have already done the hardest part, the discovery itself. Now you have the blueprint to build a manuscript that does justice to all of that incredible work. The only question left is, are you ready to tell your story?